remember last summer when Nintendo took emulation websites to court over copyright infringement? Well, they won, obviously, but there's more to it. In case you don't remember, a few months ago, LoveROMs and LoveRetro, two emulating websites that were never really my favorites, though it didn't matter because the implications of this lawsuit were far-reaching enough that even my favorite emulating websites went off the air. Anyway, these two websites were hit with a multi-million-dollar lawsuit by Nintendo. The company alleged that the couple behind these websites were infringing on their copyrighted material, both the games themselves and all the artwork, the logos, everything else that went on the website. And the reason the lawsuit got to such an unusually high dollar amount is the fact that they were alleging copyright infringement on each individual instance of a game being up on the site and box art and logos and all those things. So it all added up to over $100 million, which is a pretty decent amount of money, as it turns out. The websites were pulled down for obvious reasons, and like I said, the effects of the lawsuit were felt throughout the emulating community at large. Even websites that were not hit with cease and desist letters or proper lawsuits followed suit. And I have to say this because people get really upset when we talk emulation. I fully understand. Legally speaking, Nintendo is right. This is their IP after all. They are entitled to protecting it, especially when they have a stake in selling these games back to us 30 years after the fact, if they ever decide to do it, because as of right now, it's kind of hard to legally buy these games outside of going to a retro game store to pick them up, the actual physical games. So I would understand this a little bit better. I would be a little bit more forgiving of Nintendo for ruining a side of retro gaming and game preservation. If they were offering these games, if I could just go on my Nintendo Switch and buy all of these games, I wouldn't even, you know what, I would get it, I would understand. The fact that they're doing this, but at the same time failing to leverage that amazing back catalog of old games, is something that kind of upsets me a little bit, but you know what, as somebody who's been buying Nintendo products for a while, I've gotten somewhat accustomed to their decisions not making a whole lot of sense. So that's okay. Now, of course, I have to imagine the couple behind LoveROMs and LoveRetro knew they were fighting a losing battle. It's obvious the law is on Nintendo's side, so they didn't want to take this to court, and they started talking to Nintendo about settling this deal out of court. Now, of course, Nintendo wasn't going to let this slide, and it just came out today that they reached a settlement that still needs to be agreed upon by the court, but it's really a formality at this point. When both parties are accepting of the terms, it's just a matter of a judge signing on it. So it was agreed that the Matthias couple, the people who are operating these two websites, will owe Nintendo $12 million, which, admittedly, a far cry from the original dollar value Nintendo wanted in damages, but who has $12 million lying around? I'm sure people running emulation sites don't. I've been into emulation for years. Take it from me, we do not have that kind of money. The exact amount in the agreement is actually $12,230,000, and I love when these settlement amounts are like that. Like it's like 12 million and then $230,000, as if that makes any sense. At that point, after $10 million, it might as well be $10 billion, because again, these guys are not paying that much money, and Nintendo probably knows this. It's not uncommon for these companies to sue for a crazy amount, then settle for a little bit less that is still scary, then actually settle for even less than that. Basically, this judgment is really to scare people into not starting emulation websites anymore. A goal, I would argue, has already been achieved. I mean, truth be told, you can still find ROMs if you look hard enough, and it doesn't even have to be that hard. But this number will likely scare some people into maybe not starting an emulation website. And who knows, as this becomes mainstream news, it might even scare the casual gamer who might want to download a ROM, but doesn't want to. Another way to interpret this is maybe the reason Nintendo is finally putting the pressure on emulation is because they're planning to put out their own alternative to pirating old games. I mean, this is just me being positive about this whole situation. This is me being optimistic. It probably isn't the case, but I would forgive Nintendo if they do all of this, They sue these people into oblivion or however much they end up paying. And then, a few months down the road, they open a virtual console-esque store for retro games on the Switch. Maybe something like a Netflix of emulation like it's been proposed in the past. I mean, Switch Online is okay. We get a bunch of NES games. That's kind of cool, I guess. I have Switch Online. I played Donkey Kong for like 10 minutes and I thought it was kind of neat, but that's it. If you had SNES games up in there, if you had N64 games there, who knows, GameCube games up in there, and it was still that flat Switch Online fee, yeah, I'm fine with ROM sites going away. Like I said previously, the Matthias couple will likely not pay that much, and this is relatively common in the suing people over copyright industry, if you can call it that. Some time ago, the MPAA, the Motion Picture Association of America, sued Hotfile, a file sharing website, for $80 million, but they ended up only paying $4 million, which again, $4 million, still way more money than I have and likely will ever have, but it's still 20 times less than $80 million, so silver lining, I guess. Now, like I said, this is probably just me being optimistic, but I want to believe that the reason Nintendo is really putting the pressure on these people now is because they want to put out their own alternative to you downloading your illegal ROMs. That's probably not going to be the case. What's most likely is that they just want to scare the casual user into not downloading ROMs anymore, because I think for the casual observer reading something like this probably reads like, they're gonna come after me if I download Super Mario World, so I probably shouldn't. And if they achieve that goal, it's probably a win in Nintendo's book? I don't know. Now, I know I'm talking to people who probably have several hard drives worth of downloaded ROMs over the years. So I assume that this doesn't affect most people that much, but did you stop downloading ROMs over this? Is this something that worries you? Did you start signing up to a VPN maybe to cover your tracks better? Has this affected your consumption of retro gaming? And if you're part of the camp that's really angry at Nintendo for doing this because this is damaging gaming preservation, this is not really taking money out of developers' pockets because all of these games are not really commercially available anymore, Nintendo themselves aren't really doing much to bring these games to us, how do you feel about that? If Nintendo, if you're one of those people and you're mad about this, but Nintendo, say 6 months, a year from now, puts out the perfect emulation retro gaming solution on the Nintendo Switch, will you forgive them then? Is that worth losing all of these classic retro gaming websites that we have been taking for granted really for all these years? Let me know how you think in the comments down below. As always, follow me on social media. I'm always very active there. I love talking to you guys, both Twitter and Instagram. Make sure to subscribe and hit the bell because subscribing doesn't really mean anything anymore, and I'm sure soon enough, even hitting the bell is not going to matter. But I'm always here, and that's all the time I have for today. I'm Izzy, and I'm done.